would do everything I could to be present in those places all month long, especially if you've already number one in the maps there, because that double serving on that front page is helpful, really helpful. And if you have a town that's like 20 minutes away, I would just avoid it. Just have your budget run right there. Be the guy in that one little area.
That's that's actually really great advice. And I think that almost makes me want to lean more towards considering opening up that second office and doing the same thing.
Well, hello and welcome to the J. Sterling Hughes Show, where we share how we have built our family law practice from 0 to 25 plus attorneys over the past 10 years. My purpose here is to document what's working and what's not working, with hopes that you can take that and recontextualize it and shorten your success curve. My name is Jeff Hughes, and I'm your host. And my guest today is Attorney Tom Hartin from Long Island, New York. As many of you listeners know, we have been following Tom the past 6 months or so as he has launched his family law firm, and we have just completed his second full practicing month of September and October of 2024. We're in November now, and we're taking a look back at November to see his results for November.
October.
For October. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
And we have some areas in his practice that he's kind of kicking around and thinking through. So we're going to kind of explore that and talk that through. So, Tom.
Thanks for having me back, Jeff. So at first, let's talk some numbers. I think it helps. That's a good way to start. So I'd like to first just bring up a correction to my September numbers. I don't know where I kept just messing up the math. I think I said my revenue was like 6,800 during the last podcast. I figured out where the missing money was, and it was never missing. It was just missing in my head. Just a correction for September. My revenue for September was 8,200. My total expenses were 4,200. So my bottom line profit was 4,000, give or take a few dollars. So that was September, for anyone that listened last month.
And while you're still in September, Tom, let's pause for 1 second there. So
sure.
We talked about breaking out your marketing expenses from just putting it all in one bucket, just because that's one of the biggest expenses you're going to encounter. So what were your total marketing expenses in the month of September?
Yeah, so my marketing expenses I pay $1,000 for a general marketing team, and I'm using Honorable Marketing, and they've been doing a really great job. So I pay them a flat $1,000 rate per month for publishing content, local SEO, all that stuff. And then I have a $1,500 budget for Google Ads.
Okay.
So,
and you're exhausting that budget. You spend the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, we can definitely talk about the problems I had with that in October.
Okay. All right. Bring us in October.
So October was a bit slower, a bunch slower actually, and we'll get to why I think that was. So I'm just going to round the numbers a bit. Top line revenue was just shy of 6,000. So using the same total expenses of 4,200, about 1,800 in profit.
Okay, and the marketing expense was again $2,500.
Marketing expenses were 2,500, and then so I guess that makes the remainder. I should be able to do this math quick. 1,800 in other expenses. My other expenses are low. It's office space. I have a LexisNexis subscription just for limited content in family law space. Things like Adobe, Microsoft Office, things like that.
Okay.
No, I'm not working with any major like CRM tools. I've tested a few out. I haven't really found any I loved yet, or any really that I needed yet.
Okay. So, and then from a standpoint of your performance metrics, leads, consults, hires, files closed, meaning you've closed out the file, case is over.
Yeah. Okay. So I had 5 leads in October. I had 7 consults. So, obviously some of those were leads that came in the month of September. 3 hires and 0 files closed.
Okay.
And so what we're doing here, I'll tell you how I'm kind of tracking things a little bit differently on my end. So I'm working part-time at a patent firm, and then I'm working part-time on my family law job, and until I'm able to grow it enough where I feel like I can kind of launch and go full-time. So I've spoken to you and spoken to a number of other people. What's the ideal number of cases that an attorney should be working at a given time? Mm-hmm. And I forget, what was your answer to that question?
I think in the framework of our firm, and that's around 40.
Okay. Yeah. So I've heard somewhere, I consistently hear about 30 to 40.
Yeah.
Any more than that, and I think especially if you go over 50, I think you're probably overwhelmed. I've heard that from enough people. So my goal is to I'm tracking on my end separately, like a number of active cases at a time. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring that up is I had 3 hires in October, but I don't really know that I've worked on any of those cases yet. For various reasons, some of those cases are just, sitting. We're waiting for certain things. Like, for example, one of them just had a summons with notice filed against her. So I, just took on the case, took the retainer, and then filed a demand for a complaint. So we're just waiting for the complaint. So like I have money sitting in my trust account, but obviously I can't touch it yet because I haven't worked on the file yet. So I do, even though my revenue was about $6,000, I have 20 something thousand sitting in my trust account from various clients, just, waiting for the files to, pick up and start moving.
Yeah. Okay. So just from the standpoint of your performance numbers here, for the first 2 months, you've collected $14,200. You've spent $5,000. So about 35% of what you've spent or collected has been in marketing expenditure. So that's obviously high, but there's a long tail to this. You've got 20K sitting in your trust account, which you'll probably eventually collect and then some from those accounts. So
yeah, there's a long tail.
Numbers are not horrible right now.
So you said 35 is high. What do you like to see there?
I like to see sub 10.
Sub 10, okay. Yeah, some way. And sorry, so you tracked just my marketing, or was that my total expenses?
That's your total
so my expenditure. I think it's going to be hard to bring that percentage down while I'm only doing it part-time, because whether I'm working at my family law job, 20% of the time or 80% of the time, I'm paying the same for the marketing budget. I'm paying the same for the office space. I'm paying the same for my subscriptions, right? Yeah. So I think that's part of it. But yeah, obviously starting to do more work.
A couple things to your favor here. One is a lot of your spend is going toward organic map work that Paul and his team are doing, right? So that takes some time for that to mature. Once that matures, you could stop spending money and you can enjoy the benefits of it for a while. So there's that. There is a sales cycle to meeting with people and them hiring you. More clients that are out there that are active or have been closed or hopefully talking about how great Tom is. And so that just takes a while to build. So you got to front load this a little bit. So I think you're doing the right thing, front loading where you're at, and you're not overspending right now.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. My brain runs a lot. Sometimes I think, should I spend more money on marketing? And some of that might involve, borrowing money. Is it worth considering like a small business loan to really kick things off and get things going? Maybe, allow me to really pump up my ads, and then if things picked up in a few months, hire a paralegal, something like that. But yeah, I don't know if I'm there yet.
Yeah, great questions though.
And yeah, another question for you. Let's say I decide January, I'm going to spend an extra, let's make up a number, $1,500 a month towards my marketing budget. Do I put that towards the ads, or do I get a second location? Because I could get another office for that, right? So I know you've spoken about, you have a lot of offices. You benefit a lot from the local SEO from having those offices.
Right. Let's talk about the performance of your current office. Where is that from a map listing standpoint?
I guess how specific are you being? Like if you type in my zip code or like my town?
So let me give you the context for the question. If you're saying, hey, I'm thinking about investing more money in my marketing, where should I invest it? Should I just open another location? Should I double down on the maps is what you're asking. And maybe that is the right, but I'm curious to know, how is your current listing performing from a standpoint of traffic? Where's it showing up on the map pack? What's happening with your current one? Before you add more to it, let's see if that one's being optimized.
Yeah, I guess I'm struggling how to answer that question. So if you... Right, obviously with local, the way I understand local SEO, the further away you get from my location, the lower I'm going to be, right? So if my office is in Massapequa, if you type in divorce lawyer Massapequa, I'm number one. Okay. If you type in, even I think the 2 towns over, like if you type in divorce lawyer Seaford or divorce lawyer Wantagh, for people that live in Long Island, know these towns, I think I'm still number 1, sometimes number 2 or 3, but I'm always on there.
Okay. So and how many testimonials do you have that are 4-star and above? What's your average?
I have 22 or 23.
Good. That's good. Above 20 is where you need to be. Now, with respect to your placement, that's great, but are you getting traffic from that? Do you know?
I think so. So it's tough to tell how much. I know there probably are ways to track this, but whether it's coming from the map listing or coming from someone seeing my ad or a combination. But I will say most of my clients, like the vast majority of my clients, are either in my town or like the surrounding, 1 or 2 towns around it. So that makes me think that most of my traffic is coming from the map listing more so than the ads.
Yep.
But from what I understand, they also feed each other, right? The ad brings more people to your site, which helps boost the map presence also. So
right. So I can tell you, we get a significantly high return from our map listings. We have quite a few of them. So, and what's beautiful about that is you could not spend $1 in 3 months from now and you still get results. So you got to put the money in the front end, but it works really well for us and we love it. You got to do it right. And I think Paul's got an idea on how to do that. So he's done what you've currently got. I would encourage you, don't overspend on your location. If you're going to open a second location, don't overspend. You don't need anything fancy. Don't go into one of those shared office places. A lot of times those get penalized by Google just because of the density. So I would try to get a standalone office if you can.
That probably is not possible here.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, I'm in a shared office now, but shared office, like I have my own, from what I understand, it's important to have your own suite number.
That's what I mean. I mean. I'm not talking about like, don't do a Regis location is what I'm saying.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But even with those, like I'm not in Regis, but I think mine is kind of similar to a Regis. It's smaller, right? So it's a single, this is their only building. There's probably 20 offices in here. And yeah, like I have, I'm suite 113 and Regis is different. I guess there might be 100 of them and there might be like 5 Regis offices in the same zip code. So yeah, I don't know. I can think finding office space on Long Island is probably a bit tougher than in Wisconsin, but
well, we've just had the most luck moving away from it. We've virtually moved away from all of our Regis locations and it's worked out better for us, but
so maybe another shared office space that's not Regis.
Yeah. So you're thinking about putting more money behind marketing and you're just trying to decide where to put it.
Well, yeah, so let me go back. I asked what's the right number of clients to have. The number somewhere around 30 or 40. I'm a little bit slower at the moment because I'm still learning how things are done. Though I've noticed like a significant improvement in the last month or two and like how quickly I'm getting things done. But let's take 30 for my example. If I were full time, so let's go, now that I'm half-time, I want to have 15 active cases. That's the first target to where I'll get to before I kind of reevaluate things. And now I signed one Friday. So that puts me at technically 7, but really 6, I'll say. Okay. One of them is a prenuptial agreement. So I won't count that one because that's small.
That counts.
Yeah, I guess.
Lower fees, but it counts.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know.
It's 7 active clients. Okay.
6.5. Yeah. So yeah, I'd like that. That's kind of how I'm tracking things like in my mind internally. I'd like that number to get to 15. And I know we're coming up into what's probably a slow season. I have 1 or 2 more that I think are likely to sign probably sometime in November.
I know we talked about this last month, Tom, but anecdotally, we talked about the election and how people were really focused on that and just slow to make decisions. And we have absolutely seen that in our practice. We have exploded since basically Monday of last week. We had an amazing week last week.
Oh, that's awesome. And
so
I think I saw a combination of that and a problem with my ads because mine happened even before that. I'll tell you on November 1st, I think, but for the last 2 weeks of October, I maybe got 1 call. On November 1st, I got 3.
Okay.
So I think part of it was mad budget, and I think part of it probably was the election cycle also.
How confident are you that you're answering all your calls?
I'm answering all my calls.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I can kind of tell you a bit what happened in October. So my budget for the Google ads is $1,500, and I was just getting a ton of spam. I think Paul mostly fixed that problem. I'm still getting some, but it slowed down significantly. But yeah, I think my ad budget was gone by, I'm going to say, the second week in October. So I think that definitely played a role in me having just basically like a dead second half of October. Probably that plus the election, kind of same thing. That's really all that's.
He can regulate that, can't he, and just spread that out over an entire month?
Yeah, I think, and that's part of what he did. But it seemed, I don't know. Just call like people. I don't know. So like my pay-per-click ads, I guess, where people in there was like a certain zip code where they were all of them were coming from there. So somebody was just finding my pay-per-click ads and just clicking on them repeatedly.
Oh, okay.
We think.
Okay.
So anyway, but yeah, things are looking a little bit now and a lot better now in November. So hopefully that issue's resolved.
So coming out of October, did you do something with the budget settings to smooth out the spend this month?
So what we did was stop advertising in that zip code.
Okay.
It's a zip code that's kind of far away from my office anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not something I was seeing a bunch of leads coming from anyway. So
yeah,
that seemed like the easiest solution.
I would expect this week and next week to be pretty strong weeks for you. Thanksgiving week will slow down a little bit, especially going into like Tuesday afternoon and on.
Yeah, a lot of post-election divorces, I think now. People fighting over who they voted for and who won.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some of that.
Yeah, someone will come in with a shaved head, I'm sure.
I was talking to another attorney in the area, and he was seeing the same thing, kind of like a slowdown. And I was like, it could be, he was having the same thing. I was like, could be election, could be ads. And we were both just like, I hope people just aren't more happily married. Kidding. Of course, kidding. Sorry, lost you there for a second. So yeah, my ad budget was getting eaten up, and I think we fixed that.
Yeah.
And then another thing we were talking about quickly before we started hitting the record button here was me turning down cases, even though I am slow and like actively looking for cases. So I've turned down now 2 cases, and obviously, for protection reasons, not protection, but like client confidentiality reasons, won't go into detail, but reason to think that the opposing party was, owns weapons and is willing to use those weapons, and made threats about, if you take my children away, this is what's going to happen to you, and by extension could happen to your attorney.
Yeah.
So I decided not to take those cases, and that's, eventually that will be easy when I have enough clients. That will be one of the first questions I ask.
I admire your discipline around that.
But yeah,
I think because you have that other stream of income, you can do this with confidence without worrying about where your next meal is coming from. So
yeah. And I have a case now that's even still a little bit, but I guess at some point that we're in family law, there's always going to be some pretty angry opposing parties. But
yeah,
I think ones with credible threats that own weapons, I think I'm safe turning those down.
Yeah, I think because you're driving 100% of your leads from page search and your maps, you're going to get more of those than as you get more established, your referral rates go up and you have less of those. We see that a lot because we're driven a lot by our digital marketing as well.
Most of your budget, correct me if I'm wrong, is digital marketing. Still, it seems like you still have a good referral sources. How do you go about getting to that?
It's time and doing great work for your clients. It's not sexy.
Do you reach out, do a lot of outreach to other attorneys, or is it just people get to know you?
We do zero of that.
You do zero of that.
Yep.
So people just know you. When you say referrals, is it referrals from previous clients or other attorneys, or
both? Previous clients and other attorneys. That's the 2 major referral sources.
Okay.
And the ones from other attorneys are not because of our firm. It's because of personal relationships they have with some of our attorneys.
Okay.
So we track all of our referrals coming in, and our partners get more referrals than our senior associates, and then them more than the associates, that sort of thing. So that's as you would expect it to break down.
Yeah, I look forward to that picking up a bit. But for now, doing what I can with the ads and trying to, not get killed.
Yeah.
But build a successful practice at the same time.
As you're talking about your budgeting, if I were managing your budget, I would want to dominate the key areas that you want to be dominant in that are just around your office, that you already have success in the map pack. So rather than seeing your budget exhausted and depleted on more far-flung locales, I would want your budget to run all month on the areas right in your backyard.
Yeah.
And really stake that territory out.
Yeah,
so
that's a good idea.
I don't know how you're allocating your budget, but I would focus it as much as I could right around where you're at.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, actually. And then another idea, I'm going to write that down. And then another idea that Paul had, and he said he's seen some success with this, is a lot of people, let's say in my example, allocate $1,500 for the month, and it could run out, Google tries to spread it over the month as best they can, but let's say it runs out by the 25th. Then you're not going to show from the 25th until the 1st of next month. So what people do is they run a second campaign and they take a portion of their budget. So let's say you take, $500 and you only run it in the last week of the month.
Yeah.
So then you'll be, whereas a large number of other attorneys might have already exhausted their ad budgets at that point, you'll have a better chance of popping up.
Well, I've never heard that before. It could be legit. I don't know. So in your area, let's say your town, the one that you want to dominate, how many people live in that town?
Let me Google it.
Just rough guess. It's 60,000, 80,000?
I couldn't take a guess. Hold on. It's going to take me 2 seconds. So my immediate town, 20,000.
Okay.
And then they're all small zip codes. I was confused.
And within 15 minutes drive of your office, about how many people live in that radius?
Within a 15-minute drive, you're definitely getting well over 100,000.
Okay. So I don't know where your current radius is set at, but I would focus as much as I could on just my area, my town. What do you call it? What town do you live in? Massapequa or something?
My office is in Massapequa, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would want my budget to run all month in that town, every single day.
Maybe like that. I know the 2 towns west of me and then the one north of me are pretty, upper middle income towns. So maybe focus on those 3. That's all. And when I'm talking the town over, 2 towns over for me is it's a 4-minute drive. Like
Yeah.
they're small but densely populated towns.
Yeah, I would do everything I could to be present in those places all month long, especially if you've already number one in the maps there, because that double serving on that front page is helpful, really helpful. And if you have a town that's like 20 minutes away, I would just avoid it. Just have your budget run right there. Be the guy in that one little area.
That's that's actually really great advice. And I think that almost makes me want to lean more towards considering opening up that second office and doing the same thing, kind of focusing, really finding areas that don't have a ton of other, and that's how I found this area. It's a really good upper middle income area, and there was no divorce lawyers in Massapequa. And I was lucky to find this building. And
I know Paul can help you with that. Let me just clarify something though, Tom. I'm not an expert on the technical stuff of the maps. So whenever I'm making a decision, we're discussing it, I want to go where there's the fewest or the least amount of competition, fundamentals,
that's
right?
What I did.
Play where there's no one at, right? So that is like a big determining factor to me. And then also the density of the psychographics and the demographics financially, where people are, where I want to be. And that's the places I want to stick our flag down. Like for us, our most profitable offices are these towns here in Wisconsin that are in the middle of nowhere with like 15, 20,000 people, because there's hardly any lawyers there and there's good money in those towns. And we just clean up in those places. Clean up. It's incredible. Now, we've been number one in downtown Chicago, the Loop before. You would think we would just be overwhelmed with quality traffic, but it doesn't show up like that. So it's incredible. We make more money in like Schaumburg than we dig down in the Loop in Chicago. A lot more.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's just totally counterintuitive on how that stuff works.
All right. You're making the wheels spin in my head. No, that's all really helpful. Thank you.
Cool.
And so we also were talking before, I kind of have a new marketing angle that I'm working on. I don't know if you want to save that for next time when I have it.
We part of the call we started talking about formulating an ideal client profile, an avatar for it, right? So where's your head at around that?
So let's see. So where I live in Nassau County, and then the two counties around me. So towards the east is Suffolk, and then when you go west, you're into New York City, but primarily towards the west is Queens. That's the first county westward. There is a ton of cops, firemen, nurses. There's like a joke that I know at my sister's wedding. My sister's a nurse. Her husband's a fireman. Someone made a joke about her being like how unlikely it was for a nurse and a fireman to find each other and get married. Because literally, it seems like everyone you talk to is one of those, or a cop, one of those three. So the initial thought was, let me start targeting some content on my page directly towards first responders, right? And there are some unique issues to first responders, they have really good pension plans, especially here in New York. Their pensions are crazy. Really good healthcare coverage, unique custody issues where, maybe they work 24-hour shifts. They tend to work weekends more often than other jobs. So how do you divide custody when you work weekends or when you work a 24-hour shift? And how does a pension get divided? Right? This is all good content that's helpful and things that people will search for when they're looking to get divorced. Yeah. So I thought that's a good marketing angle, both on the digital front and if I were to try to do some more on the ground non-digital marketing. I don't know what's a better word for that, but that kind of gives me like a distinguishing feature also, not just like, hey, I'm any other divorce lawyer. Like I'm a divorce lawyer that, I don't know if I can use the word specialized, but that focuses on, issues surrounding first responders and eventually be able to say, I've handled a number of these cases. I can protect your pension. I can make sure no one's going to argue that you can't get custody because you work on Saturdays. And so I think, I think it's an idea I have in my head. I purchased a domain around first responders. It's literally firstresponder.familylaw.com. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It was just like, I was like, I wonder what domains are available. And I saw that, and it was $80 for 3 years. And I was just like, click. It's kind of like an impulse buy. It was like the candy.
Got a whole account of those kind of names. I love it. Yeah. We have a whole account with all of those kind of names and ideas we've had before. So I have two comments relative to this. One, I love the idea of focusing, right? There's riches and niches. And if you can be known as the first responder lawyer, you will have so many people that'll just respond to that for that because they feel a connection there. Okay, first off. Secondly, if there's no one in that niche, man, go all in on it if you feel like that's the one for you, because there's so much you can do to target and be in front of those people that fit that description. Love that. Yeah, in fact, also, we have an ideal client here in our firm. So this goes back about 8 years, Tom, where we pivoted away from doing general law to just doing family law. And we spent 3 or 4 months kind of creating the ideal client profile. And for us, we target, that was our direct bullseye target, was a female between the age of 35 and 45 that owns their own home. She has children, has a 401k or retirement plan. And here's the key. She's in the medical field.
Okay.
Now, because you don't go on our site and see people, anything about on our site that says we want to work with nurses and doctors that are female. But if we decided we're going to speak to them. If we can connect with them, we're going to get people outside of their bullseye, right? In their orbit. That's what we felt like we could do and do really well. For 8 years, that's been the center of our bullseye as we target clients.
Interesting.
It's worked out great for us. And we didn't go as tight as you're talking about, being just first responder and all that, because we already were 8 lawyers at that point, or 6 lawyers. So we had to go a little wider. But if it's just you, tight, and just dominate.
But it's funny that it sounds like such a tight term, which is awesome, but it's really not. A first responder can be a cop, a fireman. I would put veterans in there. What else do you have? You have nurses, really, and all other hospital staff. You have EMTs. You have teachers. Could even be grouped in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a third of the population of Long Island.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that's good. It sounds really narrow, but there's a large client base there. So
riches and niches, man. Focus.
Yeah, I'm not like I said, that's it. The idea is just getting started, but I'm going to do something with it. I'm just not exactly sure what yet.
I can see you buying all the billboard space around the hospitals.
No, we don't have billboards.
Oh, you don't have billboards there?
No billboards here.
Oh, we have lots of them here.
I know. I lived in Philly for 4 years, and there's just every billboard, and you just drive up 95 and it's just attorney billboard every 3 feet. But no, they're not allowed on Long Island, which is nice for the views, but I wish I could get the one. Yeah. Every once in a while, though, I just see these, I'll be driving on a road and I just see these signs. And I'm like, there's no way people paid to put that sign there. They probably just printed the sign and stuck it there. I should do that.
You can geolocate all of your targeting and just do it around hospitals and fire stations and police stations and VFW.
I wouldn't be able to do that. There's one in every town.
That's okay though. Perfect. Do that.
Yeah. But it's the same it's not any different from what you said earlier of just targeting my town.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because
you can do it down the block. You can do it to the house actually if you do it right. So there's ways you can do that. Is what I'm saying.
I guess. Okay, I didn't know that you can get that specific. Cool. So I don't know. Hopefully in the new year.
We've tried different campaigns where we've actually targeted branding campaigns to law firms because we want the lawyers.
What do you mean by that?
The other lawyers who are not family lawyers, we've targeted their law firms. So when they go on their phone and they open their phone up and surf Facebook, they're going to see us. And maybe they could be a real estate lawyer, but we want to be known to them as the family law firm. We've experimented with that before. And I think we probably do some of it now. It's not a big thrust, but that's a long shot, right? It's a bank shot. It's not direct. It's more just establishing brand.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. At least like I said, I feel like this gives me a good angle to reach out. If I were to reach out to another attorney, and if, let's say, like you said, an estate planning attorney, say, hey, if you have any first responders, cops, firemen, nurses, veterans, et cetera, that are, have issues with child custody or, potentially seeking a divorce, I do free consults, send them my way.
Yeah. So you can start producing content around that, putting that up.
Yeah. I think, I talked about it. They're working on a sub page within I almost when I thought of it, my initial thought was am I still small enough that I just completely rebrand? Maybe that's going a little bit too far. Just, maybe just a separate, a sub page on my website would be good.
I think going all in on, if you're going to do it, go all in on it. You're not going to lose doing it. So
going all in would be, I don't know. I would have to basically start from scratch, create a new LLC, kind of get a new office space.
I don't think you have to create a new LLC at all. You can just keep your same website. I wouldn't probably change that. You already got
it. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah. When you say go all in, it was
but you open the front page, it should be you on a picture with firemen and policemen and nurses around you or something.
Yeah.
I mean, you should make it clear, hey, I work with first responders because you're unique.
Yeah. Yep. Right. And then I don't know, it'd be cool to have business cards or something that just literally type in the website firstresponder.familylaw.com, and then it links back to my website.
Yeah. And then talk with Paul about geolocating all of those locations around you and just crush it in those areas.
That's one thing I'm going to do right after this call is kind of focus my ad spot better.
Yeah.
I'm probably covering not all of Long Island, but 60-70% of it. That's probably too much.
Yeah.
I should be covering my neighborhood and a couple neighborhoods around it.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Good. Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. And in terms of marketing, I think this is going back to the beginning of our talks. We have the ads, we have the map pack, right? So if I really focus my ads in my area, I'm number one in the map, and my ad will be popping up with sufficient frequency. Then it's just a matter of, if I can get that third, the organic results. I just don't know what the timing looks like on that. So that's a tough one. Maybe I should forget about location and try to focus my organic around the first responder stuff. I don't know.
It just takes a while. I don't know how quickly it's going to mature where it works for you there, but I wouldn't go outside of those 3 areas right now. I just stay focused on spending money there until you can really get all of that down well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put money elsewhere. But you could definitely do work with your branding around, or your thrust of what you're trying to focus on. Go to the first responder route without spending money. That's just all content creation.
Content creation.
Don't go spend money on things outside of paid search and your map and your organic right now. Just get those where you need them to be first before you spend money.
Right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, my thought is like the organic. I'm still. Again, it's only been a few months, but still nowhere to be found. I don't know how long that typically takes to get there.
I don't think you're honestly going to move the needle the whole time once you get there anyway. It's the amount of our traffic, yeah. Of the 3, it's the lowest amount of traffic for us.
Interesting.
So that's
cool.
That's just us. I don't know what it's going to be like for you in your area, but that's for us.
No, I agree. I've heard before, try to hit 2 of those 3 metrics. If I know I'm already in the map and the ads that's just me putting money into ads, really nothing else to do there.
Yeah. You can probably get there real quick around first responder terms, but those are pretty long tail terms. But if you build content, you can get there pretty quickly, I would think.
I know. I need to figure out what those terms are. I'm sure pension is a big one, so that's one to focus on. But yeah, cool. All right, we had a long one here, Jeff. Thank you.
You've had a great start. 2 months into it. This is fun.
Yeah, slow month. Like we talked about, November and December probably not going to be too mind-blowing either, but I'm hoping January, February, March next year will maybe that's when I boost my ad budget and things really, really start lighting up. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, we've typically, when we know those big months are coming, we'll start to boost our ad spend about 6 to 7 weeks prior to those months. That's what we have done historically. Okay. So because people start their research in the Christmas time, believe it or not. They don't make decisions then, but we'll notice top of funnel keywords start to rise in the volume where people start their initial research, and then we hopefully see that mature from a standpoint of calls in March and in April. March and April are usually really strong months for us. Cool. All right. Awesome. Especially after tax returns are in. There is a direct correlation between tax returns and people filing. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. It's not a huge number of them, but it's a meaningful percentage. Also, let me ask you one more question. You're familiar with LawPay or other similar? Yeah, I think we use LawPay. Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask if we do. We use it and we like it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I was about to book a demo and then I jumped on this call, but I think I'm gonna look into that. So I take credit cards already, but it's mostly just me. I think I take the credit card number and I enter it into my bank. But if you want like practical experience, I can connect you with Stacy. She runs all of our collections and payment plans and all that, and she can tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about LawPay. Okay, yeah, that's really what I would use it for, is for the payment plans. You have people that don't have a bank account with a ton of money in it, but when the divorce is finalized, they have $400,000 in equity in a house that's going to be divided in a divorce, right? So it's not like, I don't know. I think it's hard to convince people to take out a loan to pay for your divorce, but when you have, I don't know, approximately half of $400,000 coming your way, it's a little bit easier to spend $10,000 on a lawyer. Yeah. And so, it's like an investment to spend money on the lawyer, because it will help you get as much out of that house as you can. Yeah. I think LawPay is a great choice. I think we've tried 2 other vendors that are similar to that and went away from both of them, and LawPay is stuck with us. So I'm not that close to really what's happening day to day. That's Stacy's area, so she can help you if you want to help there. No, that's cool. This was an awesome episode. 2 things I'm taking out of this: refocus my ads to be more close to my location only, and I'm going to look into LawPay, because I had a couple recently where they just couldn't afford a lawyer. But I don't know how I would feel about telling someone to take out a loan if they had no assets coming to them anyway, and we're like on the lower income. But if I had one client who would have probably walked away from the divorce with at least $200K, didn't even have money to pay for like a consult. Yeah, I mean not the consult, the initial retainer. All right. So I think that's where like LawPay would come in handy. So cool. Thanks, Jeff. Right. Great. We'll see you in December. All right. Awesome.
Cool. Thanks,
Have a
man.
good Thanksgiving.
Bye.